Welcome to this amazing game of Nomad featuring some of the best Nomad players in the world. We're watching Vivi playing as green with the civilization, the Chinese, get a really nice town center built on this wood line with the gold economy as well. Vivi is playing with some of his teammates from China. He's playing with Lix, who has the Civ, the Bohemians. All of these guys are now in Clan LY, formerly Clan WWP. On the opposing team, Juhao is playing as the Italians in blue. He's about a 2K2 rated player from Finland and a very capable Nomad player. The third member of the Chinese team, Mr. Yo, is playing as the Goths in the color orange. You can see that they have 3 players in the south of the map, and they should be able to dominate this area against just the Max and Juhao. Their fourth team member, Duity, is playing as the Khmer in yellow, and he's got a great town center and a really capable Civ at pulling off strong uptimes and just getting a really strong early economy on Nomad. He's going to be matched up against Rubenstock, one of the best Nomad players in the world, and kind of the final member of Team Suomi in this game. Ruben loves to dock pawns, and he's docked this pawn in the middle. I have also docked this pawn in the middle. Also on Ruben and Juhao's team is the Max, the third member of Team Suomi on their team. He is playing as Teal with the civilization, the Saracens. The Max is one of the best team game Nomad players in the world. I am the fourth member and the lowest rated member, as you can see from my idle villager here on the Finnish team. I am not in Clan Suomi or from Finland, but they were nice enough to invite me to this game and let me play with them today. I'm playing as Red with the civilization, the Lithuanians, an incredible civilization at getting strong starts because of their early economy. They have great Monk Siege, and of course great Paladin and Latus. So this is just a really powerful Civ. The Max has his town center in the middle here near this pawn. This Nomad generation is set to Antiquity mode, a mode that can be clicked on in any lobby, and it includes these oysters spawning on the shoreline. Oysters are gold economy that can be collected by villagers, so the Max won't need to build a mining camp in the early game. You can also collect these with fishing ships. This sort of buffs water, which I think is a bit unnecessary on Nomad, as water is already extremely powerful, but it doesn't make too big of a change. We've reached that stage of the game where players will be highly focused on bringing boars in underneath their town center, while also collecting wood to build fishing ships. You can see that Vivi ate 1 sheep underneath his town center just to keep that TC working as the Chinese civilization, which doesn't get any food to start the game, unlike other civs. Lix, the purple player, also has a boar under his TC, as does Juhao and Mr. Yo. The bonus for Goths, where Hunt lasts extra long, is super relevant on Nomad and can be extremely helpful for the Goths getting a nice clean start. Rubenstock is actually pushed into Deer. This is something he and I both really like to do. It's just a little bit easier than pulling in a boar if the boar is far away, and you don't have to shoot it with the fills for so long underneath your town center. But he'll go ahead and bring in 1 boar and just get his eco rolling. Juhao has an amazing dock here with the Italian, so he'll really be able to get his eco flying, but he's still near a ton of enemies on land and water, so it will be really challenging for him in this game. Max's dock is here in the south, quite close to Mr. Yo's dock, and if we check the scouting, you can see that Mr. Yo can see that the Max has a house here, so he'll know that there's a dock, and if we check on the Max's scouting, he has also sent a sheep and lost it at Mr. Yo's dock, so he'll have vision on that. Lix brings in another boar here. Not really too much happening in the Dark Age, but we'll have some players move up to feudal soon. Juhao also brings in more food. We have a boar under a TC. And again, the starts on Nomad are pretty consistent. And you can see that Rubenstock is interested in going light cav. The Max is going galley into die because he knows he's playing galleys as the flank. And I'm asking my team to advise me. I'm the lowest rated player, and a huge part of being lower rated on Nomad is just not having quite as good of decision making. My dock isn't near an enemy dock, so I can't go for a water rush. I know I've got a super safe town center, and because of that, I could add TCs, but that would leave my team in a position where they're potentially in a 4v3 and just lose the game. I generally believe it's better on Nomad to support your team than to go for a free boom, especially if you're the lower rated player. The lower rated players should always be putting their team in a position to succeed. Max's sheep distribution here is just outrageous. He's got them so well positioned under the TC. Super funny how diligently these guys manage their economies on Nomad. They probably don't think it's funny. They probably think it's not funny how bad I am at it when they look at my eco and just see me idle all over the place. As DauT gets his lumber camp up, we'll switch over to the resource panel to see the players starting to accumulate those resources they need to approach the next stage. We can see that Mr. Yo and the Max have both clicked up to the next stage. The Max is a little bit faster up, and since they're close on water, that will be quite relevant in this game. He should be able to get Saracen galleys out and win that area. Juhao has trapped Lix's villager, and this is really big for him because it means that Lix will no longer be able to go for a double dot contest in the north. He probably wasn't planning that anyways as the Bohemians, but just getting the Vil kill is really nice, and it means that Juhao will have a better chance of keeping his water eco alive long term. We'll bring in one more boar, and after doing so, we should be in a position to go up. I'm going up at 20 villagers and 6 fishing ships. I'm going up at 20 villagers and 6 fish. That's one less Vil than you'd go for in a standard game, but I've decided to go for a fast castle play to support Max in this area. I've also scouted the eastern shoreline just to make sure that there are no enemy docks in our pond. As we look at the worker efficiency for the game, you can see that I have the lowest on the team and that all the Finnish guys have really nice worker efficiencies. They're actually a bit stronger than the Chinese players in this, but I would say that the Chinese players actually tend to have the advantage in terms of sometimes decision making on Nomad and pressuring the right areas and really dominating the land. Whereas the Finnish guys might have a little bit of an economic advantage and an advantage in playing water. I let the team know that I'm going to protect Max here rather than going for a boom from the pocket, just because I want to make sure that I'm impacting the game and not allowing my teammates to die after going water. I think the thing that Team Suomi does so well in their games is they win water and then they put the minimal investment in on land to make sure that they don't get wiped there while still maintaining good economic positions. The Chinese team probably does a better job of sniping fish rather than trying to win water outright. They're really good at being creative and sneaky with their galleys and killing as many fish from the enemy team as possible. They don't need to win water long term. They're more interested in getting a ton of map control, walling up the map, and getting to trade. The 2v2 will never look good in the Galley War when you're playing against the Saracens, and you can see the Max is extremely confident in this position. His boats attack just a little bit faster, which means he'll get a kill here before Mr. Yo will, and then he'll have the numeric advantage against this next ship as well, though it looks like instead he'll pull one ship back to heal. I wouldn't mind him kind of pursuing with 2 ships in that position and trying to micro down that galley, but it's not a bad play at all by the Max, and he's obviously done a great job to take an advantage in that position. Lix is walling in a villager here, and Juhao is trying to stop it, but it doesn't look like this Vil can probably do too much right now anyways. Vivi goes up, and he'll add an Arax, and we have a villager here who's built an outpost and is now chopping wood. That Vil will be trying to stay forward. It was originally our dock villager, and its job will be to pressure Vivi and keep the pressure off of the Max. Vivi will go for a range, so he'll be able to get some archers out, but he's got 35 economy already, so he'll be able to go FC off this play as well. Mr. Yo comes in with a numeric advantage in the Galley War here. It's a 5v4. The Max's ships attacking a little bit faster makes a huge difference here, though. And the Max, as the player who is retreating in this engagement, does have the advantage because the retreating player will always have an easier time dodging arrows from the incoming ships. The Max has kind of stopped microing here. It's now a 3v3, and the Saracen galleys once again show their dominance and just why they're so good. Normally, if you do have a small numeric advantage like Mr. Yo had, your ships will be able to get on top of the enemy ships and take a really good trade. But the Saracen galleys, just being a little bit better, turn the tides, and now it's a really bad fight for Mr. Yo that those tides have been turned and the reinforcements have arrived for the Max. Ruben and DauT both have one scout out. Quite funny to see how tight their builds are. They'll just go ahead and take the scout trade here, though it does look like DauT is actually doing his damage a little bit faster than Ruben's stock, and he'll likely win that scout war. He does, and DauT will also go ahead and dock here, but Ruben gets instant scouting on this, and he asks us to defend this area. I agree to do so, and I just do some fires out of one dock, but I'm also in a position where I kind of know that what I'm primarily trying to do this is make sure that I'm not going to allow the Chinese player to do a castle drop and get to Chukanu. The Chinese Chukanu aren't the scariest unique unit of any civilization, but they're still very effective in the early game. They're quite good against siege, and if this does go up on the Max's face, he'll obviously be in a ton of danger. These archers are being quite pesky, but the Max is getting the walls down, and it doesn't look like he'll die to this archer rush. Vivi looks like he wants to go ahead and send these villagers forward and maybe castle that hill, and we're getting a siege workshop up in the back at the same time. Juhao is actually chasing Lix's villager into my little sneak base here, which is so sad. Um, and I was quite sad to see this villager getting chased into my base. Vivi is, fortunately for our team, spending some time attacking this wall rather than getting his castle up. But it looks like Lix has realized that there's a siege shot behind Vivi's base, and he's like, dude, you need to defend from this. And Vivi's reaction is way wrong here. He decides that he's going to build his castle right next to my siege shop, instead of just building it forward on this hill and sending units back to deal with this. That means we pop the mangonel right on top of his villagers, and he just immediately gives up on this. I found this particularly funny because I'm quite bad at mangonel micro, and while I was playing this game, I was streaming it, and I'm straight up saying out loud to Vivi, like, dude, I'm not good at this type of fight. You can just rush this with 2 villagers, and I will lose. But he didn't send the vills. He ran away, and that was unfortunate for him. DauT's villager is just a beast and is trying to stab down this fire ship, but we'll go chill instead. And now that we're starting to reinforce this position with a monk, a second monastery, and more units, it's starting to look really bad for Vivi. Because where before, he might have been able to straight up fight this back with like maybe 3 villagers. He's now gone for a stable, which I can see because of the outpost I built near Max's base. So I just have to go for more monks. He gets a knight out, but we have a monk out already. And he really should have gone for light cav instead of knights here. And it's going to be super tough for him. We'll just wall in this monk because we're playing against a 2k7 and we're not messing around. So we keep our first monk safe. We lock in both conversions on these knights. And we try to send the villager forward to repair the mangonel. But the knights don't even kill it without getting repair. And now the situation is a disaster for Vivi. He has sent these incredibly expensive units in to deal with this push. Juhao is going to think about towering this castle. But it's just a DauT Castle. Vivi accepts it. He deletes. And he's down to 400 stone with no stone access and no market. So he has 0 ability just to buy the stone back and get this castle up in a new location. And Vivi's opening is now just completely scuffed. He's going to go for town centers, but he's lost complete control in this area. And we have now succeeded in our job of not allowing him to kill the max. And we're really pleased with that. Unfortunately, DauT has cleared up our navy in the pond as we were focusing on the DauT Castle. And all of these fish traps from Ruben stock are going to end up going down. And that's just really sad. I probably should have told Ruben, no, I can't deal with that. I think that would have been the right reaction from me. Because I kind of know that he's doing a play on land against DauT. And ideally, Ruben might have been able to play the just full 1v1 on land and water. But you can see that he's starting to get a nice vill lead where he's got 41 villagers against the Khmer player's 37. But losing his fish is really going to hurt. And losing this pond is extremely expensive for us. I feel really bad letting Ruben's fish go down because we both love boats. And this is very painful to lose all of this just to 3 ships. We could have definitely defended that more efficiently. Ruben stock is coming in on the land now as well, though, and helping against Vivi. It's a really strong looking position for our team now. Just because we have Ruben stock roaming, doing a fine job in his 1v1, and even though we're losing fish, we're eating TCs, and we've got all of our monks walled in here, because again, we're playing against 2k7s, I'm just a 1k9, I'm not messing around. These players will clap me if I make mistakes, but his light cav come in, we lock in the conversions again, and he's just forced to run away from this, because it's too ridiculous of a little position that we've built, and it's way too easily defensible against melee units when the monks are walled in like this, so he just really can't approach. Ruben's knights are here, working with us now, so we'll be able to ideally heal those up, but it doesn't look like we're doing that yet. Vivi will come back in for another dive, but the monk micro is on point for me right now because it's literally the only thing I'm looking at. And we've got them all walled in, which makes it a lot easier. We'll delete the walls and start to push these stables because we're realizing that we have a pretty impressive force in this area, and that it's just unlikely Vivi will be able to step up. Ruben has 3 TCs back home. He's got monks, and he's trying to defend from the light cavalry and siege coming out from the Khmer player. He does have a bunch of knights forward, so if he needs to, he can pull these back. But I think for now, he looks like he's fairly comfortable, even though there is a decent amount of pressure on his face. Ruben is great at absorbing pressure from the enemy without overreacting. He's letting me know that I need to heal these up because we hadn't done so, despite them being in that area for such a long time. But we have actually started to boom now, and we're going on to 4 TCs behind this, thinking that maybe we can start to take a carry position as well in this game. Vivi still has tons of knights on the field, and our little army is moving forward here. It looks like Vivi has also started to go for CA, because those can be quite good, of course, against the monks. but we lock in the conversions again, and it looks like we'll maybe get 1 or 2 before Vivi gets away. But he does, unfortunately, pull all of the units away here. Rubenstock chases, but we just don't get the conversions. Vivi comes back in with a light cav. We get a snipe. We clear up 1 of the light cav right away. The monks are locked in, but the light cav are getting their kills. We get a conversion, and then we kill 1 of the light cav, and it looks like our converted light cav as well. That engagement could have gone worse for us, though. Vivi no longer has a stable. He no longer has light cav. And we, of course, will just queue up more monks and reinforce this little push to make sure we continue to maintain map control in this area. As we're 4 TC booming behind, Vivi is going on to his 3rd TC now. We have 51 villagers. The top players on the enemy team, Vivi and DauT, have 65 and 66 eco between the 2 of them. But you can see Vivi only has 52 vills. They both have fish left over, which is, of course, really nice for their team. But that's also something that they invested in, which is what allowed us to get this land pressure going. It looks like DauT has a ton of pressure on Rubenstock, but he's pulling this army back finally, and he will be able to clear this army kind of whenever he wants to, I think. DauT has 4 monks, 1 light cavalry, and some siege, whereas Rubenstock has 3 light cav, 4 knights, 4 monks, and 5 more LC in the queue. He's going for an Omega loop behind, and we'll just go ahead and look in this area where the castles are going up. It looks like we may have actually destroyed Lix's castle there with our mangonels, but I'm not entirely sure whether or not we got that kill. It looks like we definitely just killed 2 of Blue's villagers with our mangonel, though, so that's quite unfortunate. Mangonels are very good against the Bohemian Hussite wagons as long as they're being repaired and have the correct numbers, but player 6, Purple Lix, playing as the Bohemians, he does already have redemption. So this army really can't take indefinite trades here because when the monks come out from Lix, he will be able to push this back. Rubenstock is getting redemption as well as the Berbers, but he cancels that as that's generally a mistake since they just don't have the health upgrade on their monks' sanctity, which is really necessary to make them survive one mangonel shot and actually be able to convert in the first place. You probably clicked that, then remembered that Berbers are like the meme redemption civ, where you can get redemption, but it won't actually help. We are now pushing Yo's TC with these mangonels, and because we have such powerful monks and such a significant massive units already, Mr. Yo's just going to fall back to this double castle position, and he won't try to kill this, but instead he'll just defend. Ruben is going in with a loop, and he'll actually go ahead and engage against DauT's wood line while he also engages in the main fight, just trying to take advantage of multiple positions at the same time. The knights die of the siege, and the light cav are now engaging against the monks. So while DauT might get a couple of conversions here, and he probably will clean up these light cav without losing all of his monks, it's still going to be a really good fight for Rubenstock. And it looks like all conversions except 1 have been used by DauT, and somehow that's actually targeting a light cav instead of a monk, which is really, or a light cav instead of a knight, which is far from ideal. Rubenstock is having the resources to click up. He's got 100 eco, which is by far the most in the game. The only other player close to him is Vivi, but Vivi's got 90 eco and none of the resources to go up from the next stage, and of course he's just been getting clapped across the map all game long. Rubenstock has Town Patrol in the queue before Imperial Age, but he cancels that, and Redemption and Town Patrol in the queue for Ruben this game. He is really cooking. This army doesn't have that many kills, and I don't have too many conversions either, to be honest. But it's been a really effective push, and most of the damage that we've really done is against buildings, taking positions, and preventing enemies from getting set up on our team. Vivi comes in, he'll snipe a monk, he'll dodge the attack ground, and he realizes that he just can't take a fight against this with that many cav archers. And he's absolutely right. It would be the death of that army if it were to move forward. It looks like we're finally going to see Vivi build the castle he was supposed to build on the max at minute 17. It is, however, 16 minutes later. We're now in this double castle drop against single castle drop war. Blue and I are both making rams, but I kind of know making rams won't work, though I can kind of tell that it's a position where Juhao is going to want them, so I was going to contribute. Hussite wagons are insane against rams. Look at these things get fried by this unique unit. It's completely ridiculous that a Hussite wagon can kill a ram under the castle faster than a Hussite wagon dies under a castle. Hussite wagons kill rams faster than Hussite wagons die to castles. It's insane. DauT seems to be realizing that the pressure from the west is too much, so he tries to expand into the Max's base. The Max does have a mangonel in that area, so he may be able to deny that, but he's also being raided by Vivi. His mangonel does pop out, and despite having so much army here, DauT just sends the villagers at the mangonel anyway. And I love this reaction by him, because now even though there's a couple monks here, even though there's knights and spears, he should just be able to rush this castle with villagers and get it up. It's obviously very expensive to do, and it looks a bit hectic when he's doing it against this much army, but we can imagine how effective this would have been if Vivi did this just against my one mangonel. He probably could have clapped my entire army with like 3 bills, and I would have been crying and feeling like a huge noob just getting my mangonel defeated by a 2k7's villagers. And honestly, I lose my mangonels to villagers at players as low as like 1500 elo, so Vivi definitely could have made that move on me. Vivi's doing a great job with the CA now, though, to raid max, deny the wall up, and pressure Juhao. There are really only 2 surviving players on our team, as both the Max and Juhao have 33 economy apiece. But Rubenstock has this massive force of light cav shooting out across the map. Vivi is getting the walls down here, though, so he will be able to get this castle up and wall these out. Rubenstock is not a player to be stopped by walls, though, and I'm sure he already has units coming forward that will help him break here. DauT continues to push out with more castles into the Max's base, just trying to escape the pressure that is coming from Rubenstock by pushing into a player who he can actually kill. DauT can no longer take good trades against Ruben, so he ignores that side of his base, he lets it get cleared, and what he'll do is just push into the Max instead. I've come to the conclusion that I can't go latest in this game because I don't have enough stone, I don't have enough castles, and it's time to get units out. So upon hitting Imperial Age, we start getting the Cavalier technologies, and we're going to go into the Paladin line. We don't have a ton of relics. It's been a hectic game. We're way behind in team population now. 80 pop behind. 2,000 military value behind. 60 worker pop. It's a really tough position overall. But we do have initiative, and we have 2 players who are in the carry position. The enemy team has 0 players in the Imperial Age, and only player 3 is going up to Imp. And of course, Vivi has been in a pretty tough position overall in this game. Rubenstock is getting the raids in on DauT, and these +4 Cavalier with the 6 Pierce Armor are just completely immune to Town Center fire until they get the Imperial Age upgrades as well. And he'll just be able to dive with impunity into DauT's base and just clean everything. DauT is in an extremely painful position right now, even though he's at 58 pop, is starting to look just as dead as the Max or Juhao, because he's just being completely overwhelmed, and once his 2 castles are no longer there to protect him, he won't have anything to keep his eco alive in this area. We've clicked Paladin. We've only got 117 population, so it'll be a relatively small force of Paladin that we're going to be initially able to field, but we're going to keep adding economy. We do not have the conscription upgrade yet, so it's not going to help Paladin come in any faster, which is unfortunate. These units are just sitting under town centers, completely destroying Juhao's base, so maybe Juhao's still a little bit more dead than DauT at this stage. But again, we've ended up in this position where we have 2 players in the Imperial Age, and when you think about the Lixio playstyle, where you're really trying to enable your team by dying for your team, we've had Juhao and the Max take a ton of damage for our team, but Rubenstock and I are both in incredible positions, so we're feeling very, very comfortable in that sense. Our Cavalier come through, and the Max builds all of these gates in his stone walls so that him and his allies are able to move out freely. These 2 Cav Archers from the Max have 15 kills. He is such a gamer, man. That's a ridiculous kill count on 2 units that aren't honestly even that good. We pull back all of the Cavalier to avoid giving free units to Lix's monks, and we'll go ahead and dive with the scouts instead. The light cavalry upgrade is almost in for me, but these units do have full armor now, so they're still very tanky, and they do a great job at getting in on top of these monks, and just preventing the monks from being able to engage against the Cavalier, now Paladin. We cannot be giving Paladin donations to this player in the early game, and that would be absolutely titanic if right when we got Paladin, a bunch of them got converted. Even though Rubenstock doesn't have quite as big of an economy as Vivi, and even though the Chukanu are very good at trading against the Cavalier, he's able to snipe the siege there. We're able to pull back our Paladin, snipe the monks, and then use the Paladin against the siege as well. And we're really both in this position where we have highly mobile units that are able to do a lot in terms of map control. We're able to snipe siege and kill power units, and just put our team in a great position here. We're just flooding Paladin into Lix's base, but we're realizing that this is just a nightmare position full of monks, full of Hussite wagons, full of castles. And we're going to only send the Light Cav in here, and we're going to try to find a new position to raid with our Paladin. These Paladin have full upgrades for the Lithuanians, which means that they're still missing the final attack upgrade because the Lithuanians don't get that tech. But we do have one relic, so they're basically just missing one attack from a fully upgraded standard Paladin. Rubenstock loves cannon galleons, but the Chukanu is one of the best units on land against cannon galleons because of their high attack and multiple arrows. So they'll go ahead and shoot that down. Rubenstock is repairing this castle with a ridiculous amount of villagers. And now he's doing an Omega Trebuchet repair, as these Chukanu will try to clean it. They are now focusing down the villagers behind the Treb, but the Treb has full HP, and he might be able to shoot this Treb down, but it's going to be extremely costly in terms of Chukanu lives. The Max is pinging the enemy's trade and asking me to put a castle up on the water there. I will, of course, do so. One must listen to the Finns. They are smart players and are giving you good advice. Rubenstock now has the Trebuchet advantage, and because his units are so effective at diving Trebs, and the Chukanu simply do not do this very well, we're going to be in a position where we can clean the siege. My Paladin, for some reason, are now coming into this position, and they'll just get completely fried. So that Paladin raid wasn't very effective, even though I do think I had the right idea to go run past Lix's base and try to find a better area. You can see that Lix is starting to get the conversions now, and he's got 5 Paladin, which is really bad, actually. But the Max will go ahead and convert one of these back. So I think the Max is about to have a Paladin, but he gets scammed on the conversion, which is just not cool. Juhao is advising me to do the Monk text now as well, which I am obviously feeling the pressure to do after donating all of those Paladin, which feels really bad. So we just will go ahead and get Devotion. And we've got our castle up on the water now, so we should be in a really good position. We're getting a lot of technologies. We've got 150 population on economy, but only 25 paladins, so we're still in a position where we can't really sling yet. And Rubenstock's castle has taken 21,000 damage. He has full repaired this thing 4 times over. 20,000 damage on this castle. Rubenstock is incredible at holding positions on Nomad. Him and the Max both love to kind of have these stonewall positions, which will be reinforced by castles. I think the stone walls specifically they make when the cavalry are in the picture. Max is letting me know that we need ballistics because we are just completely whiffing on all of these shots right now. And look how effective ballistics is, because the second it comes in, it's been in for like 10 seconds now, just since we've been looking at this area. We've already killed 3 trade cogs. Ballistics has more than paid off. It's just absolutely racking up the kills now. And Mr. Yo is responding to this with a Dromon force. So he's going to knock this castle down with the Goth Dromons, which like is sad for me, but I still absolutely love. And now that we have Bodkin Arrow, this thing is dodging like a madman. Holy cow, that one's Neo. Let's look at the real fights. Lix's Paladin are in the Max's base, which is sad for the Max. But the pushback is kind of real here, and Rubenstock is really heavily focused up in the north now, and I realize that he is sieging this position, and I'm doing a bit of a poor job at getting trebuchets out, so I'm just using Rubens right now, and I'll just go ahead and send my paladins to attack these castles, because I want to destroy these. I want to clean yellow from this area, so that he's not going to be able to return to this area and be a problem. I think this ram is hilarious, because it's attacking the building instead of the Treb, and it could be killing my Treb right now, but like I don't think anybody knows that there's a ram in the game, except Juhao finally acknowledges this happening, and he cleans it up, and there's a bunch of random pikemen inside too, which is just out there. The force on the front of my base is getting truly terrifying, and I think that the combined armies of the Goths and the Bohemians are probably just about what you would want to have if you were trying to stop a Paladin player. Because we have to go for hand cannon plus Paladin now to try to push this back, but it's going to be extremely challenging to do so. You can see that this army of theirs has 56 kills already. It has over 4,000 HP. And when I look at my combined army, I do have a massive force of Paladin here. And that Paladin army has about 6,000 health, but they take a huge amount of damage from these units. And it'll be a really challenging engage unless we're able to take this fight in a strong micro position. Rubenstock is now fighting against these halberdiers with his cavalier, but he's got the castle involved as well. and his Cavalier do have a discount, so they're not too bad at taking fights against Halbs at all. His Cannon Galleon picks off another Treb. We have lost our castle, but the Max converts Mr. Yo's Dromons, and we have a Saracen Droman army now. He's repairing it with 4 villagers too, because there's no way the Max is going to give up this Droman once he gets it, man. And he just tells me to build a new castle like it's nothing. He's like, dude, we have the Dromons now. We're good. We're good. We're trying to do the same thing Ruben was doing and just pull these back into our castles. Max's ballistics advice is really paying off for me here because these castles are getting so much value in terms of helping clear up this army of halberdiers and huskarls in my base. I've started to go for winged hussar as well because I don't want to just flood paladin frontline into gothic halberdier because that sounds like the best way to run out of gold instantly. So adding in the winged hussar will mean we have a trash unit frontline, and the winged hussar also do get bonus damage against the Hussite wagons because they have +4 against all gunpowder units. We clear up a raid in the back. We're still pop capped, which feels great when we're taking so much pressure. And I'm looking like I'm in a position, even though this is a huge army in our face, where we should be able to push this back. We've got our 17 hand cannons, should be pretty good against all of the Gothic infantry. The enemy has so many paladin and so many monk in the area. Vivi has 7 paladin in this fight now, and it's really brutal. We definitely donated too many paladin here. We're down to 25 paladin of our own, but we have cleared up most of the halbs in the area, but they are Gothic halbs, and they just keep on coming. We retreat with our 20 remaining paladin and try to remass in this position. The good news for us is that we still have 130 population, and I'm doing my best to do something that I don't normally do, which is really just keep my pop maxed out in the late game at all costs. So because our pop was suffering there, we'll just go ahead and pull back our units, and that will mean that we'll have an opportunity to remass while our castle just does some work on the shoreline here. Rubenstock's massive cavalry force is diving this ridiculously fortified position from Vivi here. It looks like he gets some cannon snipes on Vivi's Trebs, and even though this area is just completely full of Great Wall Bombard Towers, which are just insanely tough to bring down and do so much damage to anything that they hit, Rubenstock's cheap Cavalier still clear the position. He's holding so much map control individually for our team. And his Bombard Cannons, even though these towers have 3,500 HP, are going to be able to do so much damage here because he's got the numbers and he's been able to clear the army behind. Chukanu are quite good against Bombard Cannons and really all siege except for Onagers. So you'll see he'll just dive in here and he'll get the snipes against these cannons and he'll be able to protect his towers to a degree. But there aren't really a ton of halberdiers here, and there weren't halbs in that previous engagement. Our winged hussar are now on top of the Hussite wagons. We have finally cleared up the halberdier, and even though we no longer have any paladin left on the field, we are still feeling like we're in a super powerful position with this military that we've now assembled. We should be in a great position against all of the gunpowder and infantry that we're facing. The winged hussar are basically a hard counter to gunpowder, and then the hand cannons are going to be a hard counter to any front line that wants to protect that gunpowder. We should be in a tremendous position in the south now, and it looks like Ruben has an amazing spot in the north as well. The opposing team has gotten to the point where they have 2 players in a potential carry position, where Mr. Yo is easily flirting with 210 population at all times, and the Max brings his boats behind the castle. And some of these are enemy fires, but I think he just converts all of them that were enemy ships. And now he's got fast fire ships and Dromons in Castle Age, man. The Max has been playing an absolute masterpiece in this game. He has done such a good job. He's doing an amazing job as well, just to kind of protect me in the south. He's always had monks helping me to fight this 2v1 that's been coming in the late game, which he was doing a great job of addressing in the early game. And as his Dromons come over into this area, he's actually going to be able to be the one to snipe these Trebs from Mr. Yo. And he's just doing so much work for our team in such a unique and creative way. And I'm just too impressed by what he's been able to achieve here. So good. These converted units of his have like 20,000 damage now too. It's just insane. Ruben gets a castle up on the shoreline here, and he's building a fleet of navy in the middle. He loves to go for Galleon and Elite Cannon Galley in the middle, and Mr. Yo will call the GG while Rubenstock gets his first Elite Cannon Galleon out, truly completing his masterpiece in this game of pawn defense. And you can see how he's forced all these Bombard Towers to be built so far away from the shoreline, and Vivi kind of has to push in through this super awkward position. But gosh, this is just so beautiful, the defenses that Vivi has set up here. So cool. Our position in the east is also looking extremely convincing now. The only thing that we're missing is the proper amount of relics, but we're getting the raids in. And they've just realized, I think, that the Berbers and the Lithuanians in the late game are going to be too powerful for the Goths and the Chinese to deal with. I definitely think we have the overall civ win in this game, and in terms of the late game military comps, we just have two incredibly powerful civs who have arrived in the late game with such strong positions. The Max's style of walling here was just so instrumental in this game, where he leaves so many gates for me to move out from any angle that I want to attack from. And one of the really fun things in this game is that you can see that all of the most created units are just by two players. The Goths with the Halbs and the Huskarls, and then the Chinese Chukanu, and then it's just Winged Hussar and Gunpowder for me, and Pure Cavalier for Rubenstock. We've got the best KD ratio in this game, largely because we're fighting against Gothic infantry with Gunpowder, and we were also, of course, able to do pretty good work in the early game as well. We don't have the same raise death ratio as Rubenstock, though, and he did an amazing job of getting a huge push going in this game against Vivi in the late game. We had way too many villagers at one point in this game. We did a huge delete, and that was kind of right before we started struggling for pop, but it ended up being okay. And we're the highest APM player in this particular game, but I think that a lot of these guys could probably beef up their numbers if they really needed to. But obviously we're really trying hard when we're playing up against Team China, so we're just trying to do as much as we can to compete. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this game. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you are enjoying the channel content, always feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel or check out my Twitch as well, where I stream live games. This is Varys. Have a great day.